4, please make your way to 40 Russell Road, Kensington.
Golf, can I have received en route?
I got a phone call from the police. They told me over the phone what happened. Lena woke up, Tilda didn't wake up. And that was when they called the ambulance.
Det tänkte man nog inte att man skulle kunna dö av det.
Jag tycker att det var mycket som hade kunnat göra, men då var det för sent.
Nu ska alla dö, men dö över 20 år är ju tragiskt.
I don't think I'll ever get over it, really. Very sad.
Hur många människor som helst som prövar och det händer ingenting. Varför ska det då hända med någon som man verkligen älskar?
This story begins in June, graduation day at Röllingby High School in Åkersberga, Sweden. It's about Tilda. How did it happen that she, who really wanted to live, didn't survive?
Jag kommer ihåg utspringet. Det var ju hon var jättenöjd och lycklig och fin. Både fin i hår och klänning och sådär.
Hon var glad och sprudlande. Det var absolut mitt första intryck. Och väldigt positivt till allt.
Vi spelade i samma orkester, vi som inte höll tyst utan satt och pratade när inte vi skulle spela. Och så hade hon så här ramsor för sig, så här nu, så 6 delat på 3 i 2, men 2 gånger 3, vad är det? Det är så här Tilda. 6, 3, 2, 2, 3. Ja. Telefonnummer.
Ja, jag tror Tilda och jag är egentligen ganska olika. Hon är klart den mera humanisten, alltså det här med svenskan och språket och...
Det jag minns här på rak arm, det var att hon var en väldigt duktig högläsare. Jag tror inte jag träffade någon elev som läste så oerhört bra. Det lät verkligen som en skådespelarröst.
Det var ganska tidigt bestämt att hon skulle till London.
Att hon skulle till London, det skulle ingen få rucka på. Liksom, det skulle hon göra. Hon skulle utveckla sin engelska.
Tilda went to London, but why didn't she come back? I want to follow her footsteps to find out what happened. The Monday after graduation, Tilda moved to London. Wayne Norton, manager of a Starbucks coffee in central London, was one of the first people she met.
She was brought into the shop and we were introduced, and instantly she's very bright, lovely girl, really lovely girl, and everyone instantly thought she'd fit in really well. She just worked in the shop, just doing the general shop stuff, but we all chipped in, we all had to do the same. Even though I was a manager, I still had the manager's job, but we all worked when it was busy, on the floor.
I used to work here about 4 years ago.
Ja, hon pratade väldigt mycket om Wayne, för hon tyckte så mycket om honom, som var hennes chef då.
The job was hard. It's not an easy job. It was fun sometimes.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything in there that I've left in there. We used to have photographs on here of all of us.
Can I just give you that?
I do miss it, actually.
Has it been many changes?
No, it's still the same.
Yeah?
Still looks the same. I haven't been in here since she died, so it's very strange.
Just she was really friendly, really bubbly. She just was very happy all the time. I think she came to learn English, to work, you know, to be away from the family. I think she wanted to grow up when she came here.
Det var rätt kämpigt för henne i början. Hon hittade ingenstans att bo på en gång. Hon bodde på golvet. Och...
I mean, everybody does. In London, you go and look at a flat and it's gone. So it's difficult to find places to live here, and it's expensive.
Tilda eventually found a flat together with 2 other women from Sweden, Ulrika and Lena.
Vi hittade lägenhet genom såna annonser. Så vi ringde väl på några stycken och var och tittade. De flesta var alldeles för dyra. Det är inte så lätt. Men så hittade vi en lägenhet då som vi trodde att vi skulle ha råd med. Den låg på Russell Road i Kensington.
Everybody loves living in London. I loved living in London, and I still love London. And it's a great place to live, and especially for someone who's 19, 20, you can have a lot of fun here. Sadly, there is a drug scene.
Well, there's everything, really.
Cannabis, cocaine, ecstasy and ketamine mainly at the moment.
We're beginning to see crystal meth, which is very popular in the United States. There's amphetamine sulfate, which is called speed, heroin, cocaine.
I'd say in London, probably 1 person dies a week, maybe more, from taking drugs. But a lot of the time, it's not reported. Here we go, another one. Another one.
But Tilda's reason for living in London wasn't about trying drugs. Tildas flatmate Ulrika tells us.
Hade Tilda testat ecstasy då?
Nej, det hade hon inte gjort.
Det vet du?
Ganska säkert. Jag kan inte säga 100%, men jag är ganska säker på att hon inte under tiden i London i alla fall.
But many of Tilda's new friends took drugs. One of them was Lena.
Det är jättesvårt i London, för det är så accepterat. Jag diskuterade med Lena ibland, det gjorde jag. För jag var ju ändå närmare kompis med Lena. Och jag visste ju att hon tog droger ibland. Det var nog mer en verklighetsflykt. Och hon tyckte nog att, det är min uppfattning bara, men att det var väldigt skönt att få känna sig glad, tror jag. Ja, jag vet inte vad skillnaden går mellan vilka som provar eller inte. Jag tror inte att det är så stor skillnad.
We don't know what got Tilda's attitude towards drugs to change. But in the world she lived in, there was casual use of cocaine, ketamine and ecstasy. And nobody spoke about the risks.
Ecstasy, I can't say nothing about it because I'll be on it tonight.
Do you know in 1920, marijuana was legal, heroin was legal?
It's up to me what I want to do with my body. If people want to destroy their own bodies, basically, so be it, basically.
If it's used in a good substance and you're doing it for a good night out, then great.
The next day can be a little bit miserable sometimes, but if you're in the right company, you can deal with it.
What does ecstasy do? It makes people hug each other. It makes people who are complete strangers become friends.
What dangers?
It's like war at the end of the day. You're going to expect casualties.
You tell me what studies have proven that ecstasy is bad for you.
Then where's your scientific evidence?
The drug world has changed and drug dealers have customized their products. There are plenty of proponents of so-called recreational drugs, ecstasy and cocaine.
I remember when I was young, if someone tried to sell you an ecstasy tablet, it would be £10, £15. I know now you can buy them in the street here for £2.
To increase the level of the consumption of the drug, they were able to massively decrease the price, to increase the palatability, the approachability. So it was absolutely designed.
But what dealers have actually done is they're quite clever in this regard. They've started to introduce a cheaper product, which isn't as pure as cocaine has traditionally been, but it's a lot cheaper. So in this way, young people who couldn't afford the expensive product of the 80s and 90s can buy cocaine and they can buy into that glamorous lifestyle, but at a much cheaper price.
They have chalk in them, rat poison, horse tranquilizers, everything goes into them because they need to make them cheaply to sell millions of them.
So whenever the people they talk to, they go to the clubs, they think that they do have the freedom to take whatever they want, but no, not at all. They are just serving the interest of the criminal organization, that they are not working any longer on heroin. They have diversified their own production with other drugs.
Vi inom familjen var ju väldigt ovetande om det när vi fick beskedet och fick höra att det var jättevanligt på nattklubbar, och i London så kände man ju sig såklart. Jag som storebror känner att man har ett ansvar som man inte har tagit.
Det ångrar jag ju. Det är bara jag själv som tänker så att jag som största brorsa hade kanske kunnat påverka henne. Genom att, vad vet jag, vara mer närvarande eller våga fråga de här grejerna.
But how dangerous is it really? What do the experts say?
A drug like ecstasy has quite profound effects in the brain.
Ecstasy is a manufactured drug. It's a chemical, not a plant-based drug. It basically acts in the brain to cause a massive release of a chemical we call serotonin.
It also has effects on lots of other systems which are very similar to the systems affected by cocaine or amphetamine.
Vital systems in the brain are affected when you take drugs. The brain has about 100 billion neurons. Signals are transferred from end to end through electric impulses. Between nerve endings, signals flow with the help of these neurotransmitters. Serotonin and dopamine are some of the most important in our reward system. They convey signals of well-being when we do what we enjoy, for example, socialize, eat, sports, love. When you take drugs like cocaine, amphetamine or ecstasy, it forces unnatural amounts of serotonin or dopamine to flow. That's what creates the buzz.
If you take ecstasy on a Saturday night, you will feel a lovely, pleasurable feeling because it releases serotonin. You'll also feel closer to people.
The ability to produce neurotransmitters in sufficient quantities is very important in order for us to experience happiness and satisfaction. And when the neurons are forced to produce abnormally large amounts of serotonin, it affects that ability and creates a shortage, similar to a depression.
The immediate aftermath of using ecstasy is a period of depression.
Because your brain's released all the serotonin, the next day your serotonin levels are very low, and we called it the midweek low, or some people call it the moody Tuesday.
Everything has a price. Intoxication has its costs.
Where ecstasy and cocaine almost overlap is some of the harmful effects, short and long-term harmful effects.
Chemicals in amphetamines give a reward effect 1000% stronger than an orgasm. No naturally occurring satisfaction can match it. So users of drugs simply lose the ability to get any joy from everyday activities. A vital signal process, one that helps you survive, disappears.
If you take drugs, you're flooding the brain with these transmitters. And so there's certain complications associated with that, with these extra levels.
When a drug is forcing 1000% more dopamine from neurons, it shocks the brain. It reacts by discarding receptors, thereby incapacitating the nerve ends that receive the neurotransmitters. It leads to a point where a person has difficulty feeling anything at all in normal life.
In other words, to feel anything, to find anything rewarding, you end up being stuck with drug misuse.
Heavy use of cocaine can produce small localized strokes in the brain, organic damage to the brain, with no possibility of repair.
More research is needed to fully understand how these drugs change the brain, but we know that the effects of ecstasy use on the brain are the same as premature aging.
Some of the presentation of memory difficulties are a little bit like premature aging.
And so deaths can be related to ecstasy.
There appear to be ecstasy-related fatalities on average round about once every 2 weeks.
In recent years in England, around 500 healthy young people have died from ecstasy, and about the same numbers have died from cocaine. I wonder what Tilda knew, and I wonder how she felt during that autumn and winter in London.
Vi åkte dit och fick se hur hon bodde och... Ja, jag upplevde det som att hon trivdes bra. Hon trivdes väldigt bra på Starbucks där hon jobbade.
De lyckades ju väldigt bra. Hon sa det så här, Hon skulle färga håret, sen så insåg hon att så här, nej, är man i London då funkar det ganska bra att vara blond. Om man är blond och säger att man är svensk tjej. Alltså för att slippa stå i kö på nattklubbar till exempel.
Tilda thrived with life, just being herself. What if she had seen into the future, learned what we know now? Would she have made a different choice then?
Sen var vi över en vecka innan hon dog. Så hon skulle skriva högskoleprovet då hade vi med en massa såna förprov och tester som hon skulle göra. Och jag vet att hon skulle gå på en avslutningsfest, för det hade hon sagt att hon skulle festa en sista gång. Och det blev det ju verkligen.
I remember trapping her finger in the fridge door, and she was. I remember making her cry because I slammed the fridge door on her finger when she was getting something, and that I remember that. Sorry. I remember she left work on the Friday, and I said, you know, everyone have a good weekend because we didn't work weekends.
Både Lena och Tilda, de hade ju planerat den här kvällen jättelänge. Det var ju någon konsert eller någon klubb eller något väldigt speciellt i alla fall som de skulle på. Jag tyckte det skulle bli jätteroligt. Du verkligen få ut allt av det sista av sin vistelse i London. Och jag tror att det var lite det som spelade in. Det kan vara tanken att om jag innan jag åker härifrån ska jag ha testat allt.
About 9 p.m, Lena and Tilda met in High Street, Kensington after work.
De var jätteglada för de hade fått biljetter som de inte trodde de skulle få.
Lena and Tilda discussed getting some ecstasy tablets prior to attending the club, but had been unsuccessful.
If your friends are doing it, you're gonna do it.
Det var någonting som hörde med i hela upplevelsepaketet med att hon var själv och fick vara vuxen och ta sina beslut.
Det var en kalkylerad risk.
Det känns mer bara som att det kom i hennes väg och hon var nyfiken helt enkelt.
They arrived at the club at about 12 midnight and met Alva, another Swedish girl they knew.
Tilda and Lena went to the nightclub The End. Tilda had already made up her mind. She wanted to try. And inside the club, she and Lena bought ecstasy from a friend.
Tilda took the whole tablet and Lena took half. Later in the evening, Tilda bought another ecstasy tablet, which she took whole.
Why did Tilda take 2 tablets? Maybe it's because it's difficult to calculate a dose properly, and sometimes the effect come late or not at all. What the pills contain, no one knows. Their quality hasn't been checked by anyone.
During the course of the evening, Tilda and Lena met another Swedish girlfriend who offered them some cocaine.
Finns det personer i ens närhet, då är det nog väldigt lätt att dras med. Speciellt om man också har druckit alkohol. Omdömet är inte som det skulle vara om man sitter hemma och kalkylerar på det.
They all 3 snorted a line of cocaine in the toilets.
Och därefter började de må väldigt dåligt.
Tilda then became ill, saying she felt sick and vomiting a number of times in the ladies' toilets.
Då tog hennes vänner kontakt med dörrvakterna och bad att de skulle ringa efter en ambulans för hon blev så sjuk.
The security on the door had said, just, you know, you need to get her out of here, get her home. They wouldn't call an ambulance because they don't want ambulances turning up at the front of their club on a Saturday night.
Då sa de att man blir så där dålig, det är bara att åka hem och sova och åka hem och lägga sig.
So the staff ejected her from the club with her friends.
So they got a taxi home.
What was she thinking while in the car? Did she think of anything at all? Half unconscious and feeling sick, did she know that this would be her last journey in life?
It's certainly possible to die from ecstasy, yes. People who are dancing, because of the stimulatory effect, they're dancing away for hours and hours and hours. Their body becomes hot. The temperature can go up to above 40 degrees. Organs in the body start to fail, and these people will die. The other way, because they get hot, they tend to get very, very thirsty. They drink lots and lots of water. If you drink too much water, it dilutes down the sodium in your blood. And when that happens, that can lead to brain swelling. When the pressure inside the skull is the same as or greater than the blood pressure, then the heart can't pump blood into the brain. So the brain is now starved of oxygen and glucose. And this really makes a bad situation worse. The brain then responds to that insult by becoming, or trying to become, even more swollen. And this almost invariably leads to death. So, yes, people do die from ecstasy.
At 5 o'clock in the morning, Tilda and Lena arrive at Russell Road. Tilda is in bad shape and has difficulty walking.
Tilda was by now semi-conscious and had to be helped by Lena into their flat.
Lena took care of Tilda, put her to bed and slept beside her. At first, Tilda wouldn't stop tossing and turning. She dressed off, but she couldn't come to rest.
Och sen lugnade det ner sig framåt morgonen. Och då trodde Lena att Tilda hade somnat. För hon verkade mycket lugnare.
Jag vaknade av att de kom hem och sen när jag gick upp så låg både Tilda och Lena i Lenas rum på sängen. Så då frågade jag väl Lena om hon tyckte om vi ska ringa till ambulansen. Men då sa Lena att det ville hon inte att vi skulle göra. Dels för att det var olagligt, men mest var det nog för att de inte ville att sina föräldrar skulle få reda på det.
Tilda calmed down. She seemed to fall asleep. Lena went to sleep too.
Mitt på dagen tror jag. Då märkte hon i alla fall att inte Tilda andades längre.
In this moment, Lena is alone with the responsibility for her friend's life.
Lena woke up, Tilda didn't wake up. And that was when they called the ambulance.
Paramedics came and they tried to revive her. I think she was dead.
If Tilda had come to the hospital earlier in the night, she probably would have survived. We don't know exactly what Tilda died of. Her body showed no traces of violence or disease. The autopsy revealed lethal levels of MDMA or ecstasy. And who knows the level of potency of the pills she bought from her friends. For street drugs, there is no quality control.
We identified who were with her at the club, and because of what they said, we ended up arresting 2 of them. And in Tilda's case, it was non-dependent drug abuse, which means that she wasn't a drug addict.
Well, it was just a very, very sad case, and it happens so frequently, and I see it too often.
Just days before Tilda was supposed to go home to Sweden, she died. She returned to her family and friends in a casket.
Jag bara skrek rakt ut när de sa det.
Vem som helst, men inte Tilda.
Jag har varit arg på att det finns droger överhuvudtaget. Arg på att Tilda var så dum som tog det. Samtidigt vet jag hur lätt det är.
It could have been anybody that night. It was just
such a shame.
I just don't think I don't think I'll ever get over it, really. It's very sad.
Tilda's colleague Wayne Norton quit Starbucks coffee after she died. He's still grieving. Ulrika and Lena moved out of the flat the next day. The 2 friends who were arrested were later released on bail. In England, ecstasy is classified together with cocaine and amphetamines as one of the most dangerous drugs, and convictions for dealing these drugs can result in up to 20 years in prison. Many drug liberal proponents argue that ecstasy, amphetamines and cocaine are harmless recreational drugs, and there are powerful forces, not least commercial interests, working towards legalization. I think that Tilda wanted to live. It was just a mistake, an error in judgment that came between her and life.
Jag kommer ihåg när vi sänkte ner hennes Jag kommer ihåg när vi var ute med båt då, på Ingaröfjärden och sänkte ner hennes urna då, i vattnet.
Det finns ett känt citat som lyder: livet är det som pågår medan vi sysslar med annat. Tilda hade en dikt som hette Ingenting, som kanske var hennes svar på den repliken. Jag tror att den gick någonting i stil med när man inte gör någonting, då gör man det man egentligen vill. Så vad gör du när du gör ingenting?